So Redhair Shanks was highlighted when Joy Boy blasted the Gorosei back to the Holy Land Mary Joa, made them return to their human forms, and had Imu in a panicked PTSD shock as Joy Boy's hockey surged through him or her, whatever Imu is, body. And then there was Vice Admirals knocked out as well, which was insane of a feat. Like, we saw Vice Admiral Doll with those strong hockey feats, and then she just wiped out, which was like just shocking, honestly. And then of course Dory and Broggy said the hockey was better than even Redhair Shanks, but didn't seem hostile, confirming that Shanks' hockey, first of all, is probably the strongest in the series, but also his hockey is extremely hostile, as seen when he met Whitebeard, Green Bull, and even Eustace Kid. Like, his hockey shows no restraint. But I also want to state that Shanks was recently seen drinking after hearing Vegapunk's message exposing the truth, and we even had Shanks highlighted in a panel about chasing the One Piece, the claim for the One Piece by Vegapunk. All in all, many people believe Shanks to be evil, many people believe Shanks to be good. Let's be honest, recently we saw him in film Red knocking out Vice Admirals with his own hockey like Joy Boy. But it was revealed also in this movie that he had ties with Figureland family, which of course their top dog being just becoming a Gorosei and Figureland Garling. So yeah, the Shanks story plotline continues to progress. Make sure you guys of course like the video and subscribe for more One Piece content. And all in all, I want to clear up the confusion with Shanks as a whole. I always try to reiterate this, but the first ever chapter in One Piece, it felt like Shanks was the main character, not even Luffy. Yes, and that means Shanks was always going to be a pivotal character for Oda when it comes to the One Piece story. And I always feel like Joy Boy's Delphu, the Hito no Mi Nika Delphu ability that Shanks had in the first chapter, and then of course having Joy Boy's straw hat, and then of course there's the hockey being first used by Shanks in the chapter 1 when he of course scared off the Sea King, while also losing an arm. And then of course it's not like Law, who lost an arm just re-amputated. No, he lost an arm, and this is permanent. That even Whitebeard mentioned it 10 years later. Everyone was shocked when Shanks came back with an arm gone. Like, what enemy did he lose it to? Of course, the future. Now I do want to say this. When he finally heard Luffy's dream, the same words as Roger that had him cry real tears and run to Rayleigh to let him know all the things that Luffy was saying, I'm saying the confusion with this current Yonko started in the beginning. Yes, the first ever chapter, and would continue to of course confuse as the story went on. But is it actually confusing, or is it more so just complicated? And I feel like people just want to really jump the gun and say it's confusing. Really, it's just complicated, and you definitely have to look behind the curtains when it comes to Redhair Shanks. I remember pre-time skip Jozu, of course, the 3rd Division commander, and of course Marco, the 1st Division commander of the Whitebeard Pirates, the Yonko crew, told all the new Whitebeard Pirates to get back as Shanks shows his full force hockey and says he doesn't want smoke, which Whitebeard laughs at, knowing Shanks is of course flexing his hockey at 100% for no reason, and confirms Shanks does this on a regular, which in my mind is a confusing thing, because why come peacefully but also show your hockey like that? Even Whitebeard was confused. I personally believe it might have to do with the next level of Conqueror's hockey Shanks has and reached, and maybe that's how he trains it. I'm not too sure, but Whitebeard says his scar aches when he sees Shanks' face. We initially thought this was Roger reference, but if we finally realize it now, it could be a God Valley Figureland Garling reference, who's now the new Gorosei. And then Whitebeard gives Shanks props for climbing the ladder as the newest Yonko. Yes, at this time, Shanks was only a Yonko for 4 years, and says him versus Mihawk is still news to him, showing that Shanks versus Mihawk for the World's Greatest Swordsman title needs to be highlighted more, especially with, of course, the outcome. And then, of course, we all know that recently and during the East Blue, not recently, but a long time ago during the East Blue, Shanks and Mihawk interacted, and Mihawk said, I don't want to fight a one-armed man. So there's definitely confusing things there when it comes to Shanks' character. Or should I say complicated, like I told you guys. And then, of course, Shanks warns Whitebeard about Blackbeard before he became a warlord. That is crazy. Or even stole the Gurgur no Mi during Marineford. Or even became a Yonko, which is crazy entirely, leading to Whitebeard telling him to fuck off. And, of course, having their Conqueror's Hockey clash. Now, that's how you do a hockey meeting. But I don't understand what's Shanks' goal. If he got scarred by Blackbeard and was so scared of him, why not just defeat him before he became a Yonko, before he got the level up? Like, that makes me really curious. Is it because Shanks has this thing in mind where he cannot defeat Blackbeard until the time has come? I'll explain that a little bit more in this video. Now, Shanks, right before actually getting to Marineford, clashed with Kaido, the strongest creature alive, and one of my favorite villains in One Piece during the Wano arc, the Yonko, with even a higher bounty than both him and Big Mom. Yes, Kaido's bounty was higher than Shanks' Big Mom. It was almost nearly touching Whitebeard's bounty at 5 billion, when it was like 4.7, I think. Now, I do want to say this. We do see a 1v20 during Wano with Kaido, and he fights Gear 5th Luffy with crazy advanced hockey, and his strongest is attack, that crazy strong barrage ring gun. And then of course Shanks immediately after gets to Marineford, so that was insane all in all, and then stops Akainu from killing Kobe. Oh yeah, y'all should have seen the look on the Red Dog's face. This is the same Akainu that killed Ace, took half of Whitebeard's face off, took Whitebeard's rage, and went on to fight his commanders plus Crocodile. If I want, I could even mention him fighting Aokiji for 10 days during the time skip and taking his leg, to Blackbeard right before the time skip, not even wanting to smoke with Akainu. So yeah, Shanks is built different from these moments with Kaido and Akainu, of course, and of course him stopping the War of Best. I remember Akainu laughing at Marco and Vista's hockey, so Shanks has got another stamp during this moment of him clashing with Akainu, the Magma Man. Now I do want to say this, we even had Blackbeard saying it's still too early to fight Shanks during Marineford War, foreshadowing there's future fight, and Sengoku saying, since it's you Redhair, I'll take the blame for letting Whitebeard and Ace Body go, showing how Sengoku knows Shanks' ties to the Celestial Dragons. Yeah, every time we see Shanks he gets even more mysterious, but also we find out more answers. It's kind of like a win-win situation. Shanks got even more confusing when him as a Yonko is pulling up to the Holy Land Marijoas to speak with the Gorosei about another pirate. In the streets, this is known as snitching, and even seen very low of someone to do. Like Whitebeard was okay, but the top of the world government, especially now, what we know about how disgusting they really are through Sabo. Sabo said it was the hell at the top. It's crazy. So does Shanks know about Imu? I don't think so. Well, I do think so, but not 100%. And of course, does he know about Joey Boy and Imu's beef, and what side is he really on, and which pirate is he talking about? Is it based on pirates? We can only assume Blackbeard because he did the same thing with Whitebeard, but we also have to remember they just found out about Luffy's Delver ability during Wano, so maybe Shanks snitched on Luffy and is really his top opposition, which would just be the shock of the town, the shock of the universe. I could even think about the fact that he pulled up solo instead of with his crew. Maybe he betrays them as well. Ben Beckman, Lucky Ruyasa, yeah, who would have thought? It's crazy to think, but if this was some Aizen level stuff, yeah, we have a lot in store with this character. Now, of course, I'm just throwing theories out at this point. All I know is him telling Ben Beckman at the end of Wano, let's go claim the One Piece, as Kaido and Big Mom fell, was a little iffy. Is he doing it for Imu? Or is he doing it for himself? Or is he like, why is he doing it now? Is it because Kaido and Big Mom fell? Or is it because Luffy is now becoming Joy Boy? Yes, let's all talk about it. The end of Wano, we see Shanks shocked to learn that Luffy is a Yonko. Not really that too shocked, but yeah, he thinks back on Odin, Momo, Hiyori as he watches the Wano borders, and reminds him back in the days when he was an apprentice on the Pirate King's crew. Shanks never seen the One Piece, don't forget that, or Joy Boy's laugh tail. Keep that in mind as he stares at the Sun God Nika Luffy bounty poster and thinks back on stealing the Delphi from Who's Who CP9, who of course tripped out thinking it was just some regular minor Delphi ability, showing Shanks knew about Nika's powers somehow, which another confusing aspect or component of his character. And then of course he uses his hockey to stop an admiral, which is incredible though. He didn't knock out Green Bull. Shanks' full-fledged hockey can freeze him up and affect the admiral, showing he has the greatest hockey of anyone alive. And remember, Kaido words, Roger did it with no Delphi ability. Hockey transcends all. Makes it even more sense why he put Shanks in his personal top 5 that included Roger, Rocks, Whitebeard, Odin. Some incredible hockey users. Now people say, why wasn't Garp in his top 5? Garp is a Marine, those guys are pirates. That's my easy answer, but maybe there's another answer that Oda will reveal, and if he does reveal it, you know that I'm gonna drop it on this channel. Now some may say, question mark, Kozuki Odin? Well, he clashed Conqueror's Hockey with Whitebeard, took a divine departure from Roger, got back up and learned of Conqueror's Hockey coding when Roger and Whitebeard clashed, and came back to Wano and scarred Kaido. Now you have to understand, the fact that he scarred Kaido, we know Kaido wasn't really getting affected by attacks crazy until Conqueror's Hockey coding was a thing. Luffy and Zoro. So I definitely want to say, and then even Yamato fighting. Take him, and then of course you have to understand, he took, not just card Kaido, Odin took him to the ground, something even Zoro couldn't do with his Conqueror's Hockey coding attack. And then of course Zoro realizing that he has to of course go ham with Conqueror's Hockey coding when he was using Enma, Odin's sword. You have to admit, Odin's Hockey is insane. Just the fact that he held that sword. And I must admit, the fact that he can hold Emma, people are not realizing how strong Odin is. And I do want to say that because it was a hockey feat in and of itself. But let's not get too sidetracked. Greenbull dodged the fate, saying he's not ready to fight Shanks or the Redhair Pirates yet. And of course, Jinbei said that was some hockey. Mind you, Jinbei was extremely frightened when he saw Mars's hockey during Egghead Island. So Shanks' hockey seems to have a more positive element to it than the Gorosei. It's not as hostile or like evil as the Gorosei. So that's another reason why it's confusing, because it's not as nice as Joy Boy's hockey. Now, of course, Shanks at Alboth got even more confusing because he wasn't playing around about going for the One Piece, mirroring Blackbeard. And of course that battle with Law by of course asking Kid to leave your road poneglyphs and flee or fight me here and now, showing he's trying to become the Pirate King all of a sudden. And ever since Marineford, we've been interested in of course his great pirate fleets and great pirate fleets in general, from Whitebeard's insane allies from the New World to Big Mom having Jinbei Capone's crew working for her, to Kaido teaming up with of course Orochi and Wano. And of course, we even saw moments like XJ going to islands that had allied pirates of like Scotch, to even Shiki's pirate armada cornering the Roger pirates. But Shanks is a little unconventional, as his fleet were not that strong, and he only wanted to protect them. Kid was in shock of how weak they were, and even Luffy has a really pretty powerful Grand Fleet, recently acquiring, of course, some powerful fighters and former supernovas, Bartolomeo, Cavendish, and of course even Happel's Navy hockey user Sai. I thought it was also interesting that Shanks respects Kid enough to tell one of his strongest men, Lucky Root, to chill when asked if he should take care of it, but not that much, as he is more focused on Blackbeard whereabouts, and of course a rematch foreshadowed since Whitebeard meeting, and of course the end of Marineford. And Odin didn't just use Kid to show how strong Shanks was, he used Kid to show how strong Shanks hockey was, from Kid stating he was going to wipe out the fleet in 10 seconds, confirming Shanks' Ozfishin hockey to be the best in the series, seeing an ugly future of 10 seconds. That's insane when you compare Katakuri and Luffy during Whole Cake Island, and even Kaido playing around with Future Sight during Wano. That is insane, guys. I am not playing around. Now we understand why Rayleigh was foreshadowing Future Sight when he was training Luffy during the time skip. And then of course Shanks uses Conqueror's Hockey coding in Divine Departure to defeat both Kid and his Vice Captain Killer, while knocking out the fodder on the crew. If there's one thing about Shanks that wasn't confusing, since hockey was first introduced through him walking on the Moby Dick, is he's the strongest hockey user in the One Piece story. Now Buggy is Shanks' old best friend on the Roger Pirates, on the Pirate King's crew, and reveals Shanks was the chosen one with high potential to be the king, and he let go of his own dreams to follow Shanks, until Shanks revealed he wasn't gonna follow Roger's footsteps and not go for the One Piece just yet. But now Shanks is going for it, and Buggy's just confused what changed. And I'll never forget during the Odin flashback, Shanks crying after Roger's message after he returned from Laugh-Tale, being too, I think the message has to be Roger said he's too early. It's most likely Roger told Shanks about the Void Sentry and how Joy Boy is going to come in 2 decades. And now, of course, I'm talking about his son, and of course why Shanks had Luffy's Delver ability. Shanks knew that was the key into, of course, to achieving what Roger couldn't do, and was so shocked when Luffy ate it, but then I've started to believe in Luffy when he said the same famous words as Roger. That's why he ran to Rayleigh, and of course even Shanks cried after this. Everything is making sense when you actually look at it in the grand scheme of things, and that's not a pun intended for the Grand Line. And I want to end off this video by mentioning Buggy again. And you're probably thinking, why I mentioned Buggy? Well, Buggy told Shanks during the Odin flashback that Blackbeard never sleeps. And Shanks' reply is, lucky guy, means his life is twice as fun, in which Buggy replied, no, it just means he's a monster. This is obviously showing how Shanks sees life as not the outcome but the journey, so it makes sense him being patient about the One Piece. Look at the other characters who are progression focused characters, from Luffy telling Usopp to shut the fuck up when he asked Rayleigh about the One Piece treasure. You guys all remember that scene. And of course he said he would quit being a pirate if he found out about the One Piece, to Blackbeard staying on Whitebeard's ship and hiding under him and not taking a division commander role, to of course to even Roger getting to Roadstar and realizing there's one more island and doing the journey again through the Grand Line. All in all, yes, Shanks is confusing, but I actually understand him more than a lot of other characters, and him having the best hockey since guys like Roger and Joy Boy makes him worthy of the straw hat that Luffy wears. Even though out of the Straw Hat owners, him not being a king Like, let's be honest, it's unique in its own right, and I can't wait to see how Oda ends Redhair's confusing journey. And I gotta say this, Dorian Broggy connecting Shanks' hockey to, of course, Joy Boy. You have to understand, Oda did it on purpose too, because Dorian Broggy during Roger's era, yes, they were fighting. But remember, they were fighting for 100 years. So during Roger's greatness, they didn't ever get to see Roger's hockey. They've only got to see Shanks' hockey. So yeah, but definitely, you guys like this video, definitely check out my Aokiji versus Kizaru video, the former admiral versus the current admiral that were highlighted in Egghead Island. Definitely check out that video I just dropped.